Flashback.
All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel.
Guys, welcome back to the channel. Check this out. This car is doing some three-wheel motion right now. And no, not three-wheel motion like on a lowrider. This thing is sitting on the floor, kissing the cement here in my garage, and the owner had a bad day at the dune. So what happened to this car is the lower A-arm gave out and caused more damage than you would want to see on your X3. So we're going to show you guys a little bit about the weak point and how it failed, the parts it took out, and pretty much how you could prevent this from happening to you, especially if you're someone that rides in the dunes a lot, because this seems to be a very common occurrence for first-time riders out in Glamis or Dumont. So being in the dunes can be very dangerous, especially if you're a newbie, but even if you're an experienced rider or driver, this can happen to you. So I'm gonna jack this car up in the air and let's take a closer look. Alright guys, check it out. The A-arm is completely done. It bent right there, as you can see, really bad, and that caused a lot more damage than just the arm bending. As you can see on the other arm is not bent, but it does have what comes from the factory, a pre-bend, a weak point, a failure point for the arm to fail in the event that you hit something, and in order to protect the frame, the arm bends before the frame bends. The problem with that is these A-arms bend really easy. It doesn't take much at all to bend them. In this situation, he was at the dunes. I believe he hit some sort of G-out front first, and it was too much for the arm to handle. Normally, and I've been in that situation with my vehicle, but I have aftermarket arms, and it didn't ruin my day. So normally, you should be able to get out of that, but if the impact's big enough, like it was in this situation, the arm will bend, which causes a lot more damage. After the arm fails, ball joints are put under stress and leverage of the arms bending and being in a whacked out situation. The ball joints rip off. Now the brake line ripped off, and he's lucky the shock didn't get damaged and the upper A-arm didn't get damaged. So what exactly is a G-out? Now I'm no expert, but I believe a G-out is when you're riding along, you got some crazy whoops, you're riding through the sand, and all of a sudden there's this really big dip that your vehicle just cannot handle, and you're catching too much speed, and you face plant into that, little ditch, I would call that G-out, and you pretty much blow out that lower A-arm or blow out some parts, face plant the front end, damage the bumper. And that's what I would consider G-out, and I think that's what happened to him in this situation. And if you think about it, all the weight from the vehicle is going on to the front, and then when your wheels are touching first, and then the A-arms have all the weight from your 4-seat X3, and yeah, pop goes the weasel. Alright guys, check it out. It's stripped down to bare frame, and we're gonna install a TMW gusset kit. This is one of my favorite gusset kits. Definitely the one that I'm gonna ditch the one that's on my car, and I'm gonna run one of these, because TMW's gusset kit, I'm super impressed with the tolerances when it comes to the bolt holes, the way it mounts up. It's a really quality piece. So we're gonna run this TMW gusset kit on this X3. Then after the gusset kit, we're gonna install the A-arms. He got A-arms from High Lifter. Never tried them ever. Actually haven't really looked at them yet. We'll see what they'll look like in just a second, and then yeah, we'll pull this thing back together. We got a new radiator because the radiator was leaking, obviously new brake lines, so that's gonna have to get replaced. Now if you guys seen me do this process before, I might show you guys more in depth on my X3, but this is pretty much the same thing we did on CJ's X3, and we'll leave links to all three of those videos: the teardown, the rear suspension reassembly, and then the front suspension reassembly. It's all the same exact process. I'm not gonna bore you guys with the same exact video every single time, but I do want to show you the products, because if the products are good, I'm gonna show them to you guys. TMW gusset kit, High Lifter arms. I personally would run HCR, and that's what I'm gonna do on my X3. And then he's got Garage Product bushings for the A-arms. Awesome. He bought OEM ball joints. Fine with me. OEM ball joints are pretty good. And yeah. And if you guys are curious, I do recommend OEM axles. OEM seems to be pretty good. I've never broken my front axle on my X3. And you guys see me huck this thing before, so. All right, let's do it. Back to the time lapse. All right guys, this thing is gonna wait for parts, but I quickly want to show you guys how the arms are encased in the gusset kit. You can see there's the gusset kit. It's on both sides, making it dual shear. And these bushings by Garage Products, very nice bushings. I think they're UMHW, which is the same kind of material that you see, you know, factory UTV make skid plates out of. Really good material. They were a really tight fit, which is kind of a good thing. They're kind of a pain in the ass to put in, as far as the arms, trying to, you know, fit them into the gusset kit or to the rear gusset. It's a lot of work to gotta stick them in there. If you got a friend that can help you, it'll be better, because someone can hold the arm while you kind of just maneuver it, get a mallet or a dead blow, and try to, you know, hit that arm into place. So isn't a lot of friction or anything like that. The arms still move pretty freely, so I'm not worried about it. But it's really cool. I think I'm gonna get these for my X3 when I do the rebuild on mine, because my bushings are the OEM bushings and they're completely just clapped out. So besides that, everything went on perfect. I also took out this bracket at the very rear bolts, lower bolts. And if you guys seen the video we did for CJ's HCR kit, when we installed all that, I showed you guys how I, you know, took that out, or cut it at least, so it no longer, you know, keeps those bolts in place. You could slide the bolts back, and then you could remove the arm at any point. So at this point right here, we could take the bolt and nut out from the front and the back, slide the bolt back, and we can actually take out one arm at a time. Where if you're not familiar, on these X3s, normally the bolts in the back lowers are they're positioned, they're like studs, and you have to slide the arms forward, which kind of sucks, because then you gotta take off the bulkhead, you gotta take off a bunch of other stuff. So it's just better this way. And it doesn't take any strength away or anything like that. The bracket is literally a little flimsy piece of metal to hold the bolts in place. We did put these LMUTV ball joints, which are awesome, because you can see here, normally the ball joint was sitting here like this, and you're relying on the C-clip to hold the ball joint in place, which I get it. You know, the suspension is putting the pressure down onto the spindle, and this going up while this is going down is very unlikely to happen, but it can still happen. So we got these ball joints from LMUTV. These are made of, you know, badass materials. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I'll leave a link in the description for these ball joints in the description, so you guys can check them out. Also use the code FrankG15 for 15% off. And what's really nice about these ball joints is that they don't have to be pressed in. Not only are they not pressed in, they're actually held with this big giant nut at the very top. And believe me, it is on tight. I think the torque spec is like over 200 foot-pounds. So I torqued the hell out of it, and that ain't gonna go nowhere. So we're not gonna have that problem of the ball joint moving up and down in the arm, you know, socket there. So those are really cool. The gusset kit from TMW, you guys can just tell how quality this piece is. It's literally super tight clearance where the bolts go through the holes, and just a super nice kit. I'm running that on my X3 very soon. Watch out for that rebuild. I'm not a big fan of tubular arms, and not because they're not strong. You know, a lot of racers use them. You know, S3 makes great arms, Geyser makes great arms, Lone Star makes great arms, but I'm a fan of boxed arms. But if I were gonna give a grade to these A-arms, you know, I guess 8 out of 10. I'm not super impressed by them. If you see other arm manufacturers, they're putting a lot of gussets in areas that are known to fail, and this one doesn't have all that. So I mean, these are very affordable. I think they're like 600, 700 bucks for a set of A-arms from High Lifter. Hey, that's great. If you want to buy these, go ahead. Actually, they, you know, they fit pretty good, besides the fact, you know, of the ball joint issue, but that can be remedied with some ball joints from LMUTV. And hey, they look okay. So The clearance, obviously being a high lifter brand, looks pretty good. That's that. We'll finish this up another day because I'm still waiting for one axle. That's why this side's apart. Also, we're waiting for the shock tower brace from TMW. He had brought another brand. It was like EXO or something like that. I don't remember the brand. I already gave it back to him. I can't tell you or show you guys. But it wasn't gonna work because it mounted not only in these two holes, but in these two holes, and the brackets were gonna overlap. And I'm talking about the gusset kit from TMW. So they were not gonna work together. And unfortunately, it wasn't gonna sit flush on these bolts and also these side bolts. And probably wasn't gonna sit very flush or correctly against the shock tower up top. So we couldn't run that. So I told him to order the shock tower brace from TMW. Makes sense. You get the shock tower brace from TMW and the gusset kit and they work together just fine. All right guys, many days later, we finally got the axle. Some confusion with the parts guys over at Chaparral Motorsports, but we got it handled. We got our axle. I'm gonna get this thing back on its wheels. I already bled the brakes. I still need them out with the sway bar link and the shock to the arm, but first I gotta put the axle on. Also got a bumper to put on, and that's pretty much it. I'll have this thing back on its wheels. One thing to note, we are still waiting for a shock tower brace from TMW. This is the brace or bracket that comes with the factory, and as you can see, it's pretty much just floating. It attaches the upper shock mounts together, side to side, but it does nothing in the way of attaching it to the chassis. So pretty much it's kind of single shear. So we're doing the TMW shock tower brace, which attaches at the location here on the frame. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think some on the side, bolt holes. And that makes everything nice and tight, and we'll show you guys that in about 30-40 seconds YouTube time. But yeah, let's get this back on its wheels. Alright guys, before we cut to the shock tower brace, I want to show you guys this bumper that I'm installing. This is a Dragonfire bumper. It's very affordable. I think he purchased it on eBay. I want to show you guys a couple differences between this bumper and other more expensive bumpers and why they might be more expensive. So if you guys remember, I did a video and I'll link it down below on a bumper comparison between an SDR, factory UTV, and TMW off-road bumper. All three of them good choices. All three of them very different to this one. On all three of those setups, the bumper itself replaces the bulkhead, and the bumper bolts on straight onto the A-arms. So obviously this bumper is a lot simpler. It actually attaches to your factory bulkhead. Now that could be a good thing or a bad thing. The good thing could be if you hit something, the first thing to crush is this. This is gonna be your crush zone, right? The bad thing is maybe that's not a good idea. So I don't know, it's all up to you guys. I always tell you guys I'm not an expert when it comes to metal fabrication, but I will say if you get in some sort of a fender bender, this bumper's going in, and this is the guy that's gonna crush first because it's very, very thin. And as you can see here, it already has a bend in it from well, actually it was worse. I kind of straightened it out a little bit, but it already has a bend in it from the accident. So just keep that in mind. The other brands that I mentioned, they get rid of this and it attaches. It's a one whole piece and it attaches straight to the arms. So that's the difference. That's why you see these so cheap. Another reason might be because they're just not made as good. So Dragonfire looks great. What I do like is there's mounting hole locations for the lights that I'm gonna install as well. But like I said, is it the greatest? No, but it's not bad, and it's actually better than nothing. So something to consider. I will say the ground clearance on these high lifter arms is pretty insane. Are there better arms out there? I'm gonna say yes. These are affordable. They're a good option. There's a lot of little cut corners, like the brake line. There's nowhere to mount the brake line. They pretty much tell you to zip tie it. Not that big of a deal, but they do cut some corners when it comes to that. The material, I'm sure this isn't chromoly or anything crazy. An extravagant steel is probably just DOM tubing or something of that matter. I really don't know, but I don't think it's the premium stuff, or else they'd be asking a premium price. But overall, they are better than factory, and I think it's a good option for some of you guys that are trying to save a buck. So now personally, I'm going HCR, but this is an affordable option. But with that being said, HCR is coming out with their sport line of A-arms, so stay tuned for that. Follow HCR Racing on Instagram. Follow me because I'll probably be reposting it on one of my stories. And yeah, still cool, still nice, definitely better than factory. And we'll wait for that shock tower brace to come in and get this thing done. All right, check it out. We're back in the garage. Timmy and CJ are here to help me finish up this X3. The shock tower brace finally got here, and we're gonna replace it and show you guys how that ties in from the upper shock mounts to the frame itself. So we're gonna go ahead and take off the old one, mount the new one, bolt it up, and then I'll show you guys how I can bolt up. All right, so we're gonna mount that right where it's at. I made the mistake when I first installed one of these, and I put the hoses on the inside to actually go on the outside. But we'll mount them to the shocks up at top, but you won't tighten that down till you tighten down the ones at the bottom. So there's 6 in total. It's gonna be 2 here, 2 here. And by the way, you do have to drill and enlarge the holes. There's some rivets behind here, and I drilled out the holes. And then the ones on the side, you also have to drill them out. And I believe it's 5/16. Once you put the 5/16 drill bit through there, it should be long enough for your bolt. So. All right, guys, there's a shock tower brace. You can tell just by looking at it, the way it mounts up to the frame. I'll provide strength by tying into the frame there. It's 6 bolts in total, grade 10 hardware, and obviously at the top, just like any other shock tower mount or brace. So looks pretty damn good. This is the same setup that I have on my X3, and the same setup we're gonna pretty much be running on CJ's X3. And if you can see in his car, or his X3, it's coming out legit. We just did the cage on it. I'm sure you guys saw that video already. That thing's freaking bad, dude. Nothing but the best parts on that vehicle. So actually the brace we're putting on his says HCR on it, but it's made by TMW. TMW and HCR, they're good partners. So came out good. I'm gonna finish up the front end, wrap this one up, and there it is, man. As you guys can see, these arms are weak. I showed you guys in the video an aftermarket set of arms. Even these affordable ones made by Highlifter with their high arching setup is a good option for you guys. Yes, these are not my preferred option, but it's definitely better than OEM, and I would take these over OEM any day. So thanks for watching, guys. See you guys in the next video. Peace out to CJ, peace out to Timmy, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Oh crap, it's an ugly day. Nice car, by the way. And here it is, all done. The A-arms are on. He's got a new axle, ball joints are new, bumper, lights, shock tower brace, and gusset kit from TMW, flip shocks. And I mean, he's ready to hit Glamis again. Hopefully he won't have any issues, because now his arms are a lot stronger and they shouldn't bend like the OEM ones will. So thanks for watching as always. We'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, peace out.